Is this too close?
No, that's good, just like that.
That's good, just like that. Excited tonight. I have an amazing friend of mine, a fellow doctor, a fellow intensive care unit doctor, a pediatric intensive care unit specialist, Dr. Manny Gonzalez Britto. Doc, how you feeling? It's amazing to see you. I haven't seen you in a few years. It's amazing to reconnect. How's your life?
It's awesome to be here.
Yeah,
I am
absolutely.
glad to be here, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
My life is wonderful.
Yes,
I
it is.
cannot complain about a thing. Very, very blessed and very happy to be here hanging out with you.
I know.
All is fantastic.
Last time that we saw each other, I think was in the hospital, and we've had nights out, dinner nights out.
Yeah.
But I think the last night was even pre-COVID. I
Yeah.
feel like everything now is pre-COVID, post-COVID.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
The world changed, that's for sure.
Changed.
Whether you wanted to or not.
How do you feel the world has changed after COVID?
You know, that's a wonderful question. You know that when you're in school or when you're looking back at either recent history or back in history, there's these errors, right?
Yes.
And you're like, okay, so like, oh my God, like let's go back recently, right? In the 50s, the people were conservative. Elvis was cool.
Yeah.
In the 60s, you had the beatniks. And then the 70s, you had hippies.
Yes.
And then, you know, towards when I'm starting to grow up, the 80s were happening. And then, okay, people were getting into, you know, certain preppy and things of that nature,
Yeah,
new
we
wave
had
or
the
whatever.
golfer shoes,
Yes,
yeah,
all
yeah,
that stuff.
boat
And then the
shoes.
90s had their, you know,
The grunge.
the grunge period and
Yes.
2000s. And you could, you know, but the world, as I saw things,
Right.
maybe shifted back and forth, but then COVID came,
Right.
and it's like before COVID and after COVID, and the world just completely went bonkers.
Absolutely.
You know, everything that you knew, everything that was, you know, white and black, true and false, everything went upside down, right side up, and no one knew what was going on.
Right.
And now we've come through that vortex, you know, and
Great word. It's a vortex. I mean, let's be honest.
yeah, and
It's a friggin' vortex.
absolutely, we got in a blender and they just went
No.
woo, and now we come out and wait a minute. Wait, that's the name for that thing now? That's the definition for this?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, this doesn't work like this anymore?
I know.
I go, did anybody? I felt like I got transported into another dimension, and I was like, wow, I'm on the Twilight Zone.
I still feel like we're in like this Marvel movie and we're on another timeline.
I couldn't agree
It's
with
the
you more.
metaverse.
You're absolutely right. And being an ICU doctor for adults, being an ICU doctor for kids,
Yes.
you know, we were on the front lines of this from a scientific standpoint. We had to make, though, at the same time, we had to talk to our patients and their families. So we had to make sense from a human standpoint. And honestly, we didn't know what was going on, not because we weren't studying or reading, not because it was new. All of those things have happened before with other things. But we didn't know what was going on because we didn't know what was going to happen next. It was one of those few times in medicine where you're sitting down, like for instance,
Unpredictability.
unbelievable unpredictability.
Unpredictable.
Like you're just opening you turn on the TV or you're reading the new thing of what somebody's saying, and now you're going for the first time in my career by what is essentially hearsay.
With the way the messages were being transmitted
Yeah.
to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw what happened.
Yeah.
I don't blame anyone for having skepticism,
Yep.
for creating conspiracy theories.
Right.
It's hard to translate what we saw in the war, on the battlefield,
Right.
in the extreme minority, out to the majority of the rest of the people who obviously didn't see it
Right.
and had to formulate an opinion
Yep.
on what was on the news.
They had to make sense of it.
Our voices were absolutely quelled and shouted down
Yep.
because we're in such an extreme minority. And I had such compassion, I still do, for people's viewpoints on COVID, what the vaccine
Oh, yeah.
represented, whether it was helpful or not helpful, it hurt everyone. I shrugged my shoulders because I'm like, I don't blame you. You know, the message was so skewed at every turn. It became a political piece, a political, talking point. And instead of us focusing on compassion for people dying or what we went through as physicians and the families, what they went through, social media just shot it right out of the cannon. And I think that's the vortex that we got into.
Oh, absolutely, man.
That was the vortex.
The world, in that year and a half, 2 years, the world changed.
Yes.
Like as an example, so seeing kids, right? I see kids.
Let's take a sip to the vortex.
Yeah. Let's do it.
We're
Let's do
drinking
it.
some
Let's do it.
straight up Amalfi Coast water tonight. Take a sip. Oh,
So, okay, so being a pediatrician, I'm like, wait a minute, this new thing they're saying, kids don't get it. I'm like, all right, are we spared? Are we not spared?
right.
And then, fast forward months, this stuff is coming out every week. Infectious disease doctor friends, everybody's chiming in. And, we're getting kids like we always do. And then you're looking at the adults and you're like saying to yourself, okay, the first thing I got to do is I got to protect my patients. I got to
Yes.
protect.
Yes.
We got to protect. We got to get ready for like a war, so to speak. Like at any moment we can get inundated. So, we're at a hospital where there's kids and adults. So the adults were getting ready for that. And then we're watching all these people scramble and we're saying to ourselves, why can't kids get this, right? That's what we're saying for a good amount of the beginning of the pandemic.
Absolutely.
But we're preparing for Armageddon. We're putting on, bonnets, one mask, no, two masks, three masks, because then you can take off the mask.
Yeah.
And then you'll still be clean. I got 5 gloves on, because you don't want, the last thing you want to do is get somebody else sick. You don't want to make,
Doc, I know.
you're
God.
paranoid. You're like,
I
and
know.
then you go, and then you
You're
go
going
home
through a
and you can,
different dynamic.
Yeah.
Because, it's not just, the kid getting sick. It's how that affects the parents.
100%.
The whole communication
Yes.
that you have to have with the parents saying, are we going to get it? Are we going to get sick? So obviously March 2020 is when Armageddon hit, Miami. When did it hit for kids? And it was complicated because it wasn't just COVID. It was other viruses that were complicating the COVID as well, RSV and so on. So educate me on that.
I think at about 6 to 9 months in,
Right. Towards the end of 2020.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
changed.
we start seeing a lot. Okay, so the cornerstone of what we see is respiratory infections in kids. Whether they have asthma, don't have asthma, the kid gets pneumonia, and then that's probably the majority of the admissions that we get into an ICU or into a pediatric hospital. That's just par for the course.
And you were getting flooded with patients.
So we start getting patients,
Yeah.
and then we realize, and here's the great thing, in my career when we first started, pediatricians would just say, it's a virus, you're fine. Well, as I got in my career, I go, wait, we can't say that anymore because we can test for viruses now.
Right.
So now we test for them. They go, oh, they really do have a virus, and sometimes the virus makes them a little sicker than others, and whatever may be the case. Well, when we start testing these kids towards the end, this is already, kids don't get it. We start noticing, hey, this kid's negative for all the tests for viruses, but they're acting like they have a respiratory virus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, And that lasted what seems to be like a cup of coffee, but really was a couple of months. And then it comes out, oh, kids are getting this. That's when the test, you had to wait for the CDC to check it and confirm it and so forth. And then kids could get it. And then that just opened the doors. And I think the kids were in school. It shot everything up. We got inundated, and we still got flooded. And then we really started getting flooded
In
with
the
patients.
ICU.
Yeah, because the kids when they get respiratory
Did you have
infections.
a few patients that went on life support because of it? If they
Very
had other
yeah. If they had other,
complications.
like everything else, but the kids honestly did s- like they do for everything. You know,
100%.
I have a much easier job than you do.
Right.
You know, most of my kids, they get better because kids are growing, they're getting better. Adults were on the other end of that curve, and so all we have to do is buy them time and get out of their way, and they get better.
Absolutely.
That's one of the beautiful things about
Right.
working with kids. So yeah, the majority of them, of course, some of them that have chronic and complicated things that could be worse. But for
Fibrosis.
but more than anything, I think the burden wasn't that the kids losing the kids. The burden was the amount of kids that were coming in. So if we got this many kids that were coming in because of this kind of, you know, viral infections, pneumonia, asthmatic exacerbation, whatever you want to call it, it went like this.
Wow.
And that stressed everybody out. And this is already way into the pandemic where people
Right.
got burnt out and a lot of people left medicine and
I know.
everybody was tired. We were all stressed out. The kids were at home for a while.
Yes.
And then you let the doors open, they all start coming back. And like everything else, when you start school, that's when we get the update. It was a floodgates.
Miami, we never closed. I mean,
But the kids didn't go to school.
well,
they-
in
they-
2020 in September they didn't go to school.
Yeah,
right?
there was a time where they didn't go to school, and when
It
they
was
came
delayed
back,
until 2021.
right,
What was
until
it?
2021. But then when they went back to
January
school, but then
21,
when the time was going, they went
everything
woof, and then
Yeah.
you'd start getting the upticks,
I know.
at the beginning of school
And
in
we
the
had-
fall, and then in
yeah.
the December you'd get the other uptick.
Yes.
When the people would travel and
Typical virus spike.
all
You
the
know,
time.
The challenge
Yeah,
at that point, and COVID was starting to, during 2021, we
Yeah.
still had another hump to get over.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge for you was the communication and the education was kids have vehicles now, spreading it around.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
that was, I think, the challenge of how do we control this?
right.
How do
Right.
we control, the population spread? You know?
And you're trying to control something that really realistically with the way that we live, that we can function, is impossible to control.
Impossible.
We try. That doesn't mean that we didn't try, and we don't try. Even till this day we try, but at some point the world had to move
Get
forward.
back.
And I think when the world opened up and the kids went back to school, they were harbored and protected. And then when they get in general, you're right. In Florida it was maybe a little different. You got the floodgates open, and it wasn't just here. All the pediatric hospitals were overwhelmed. If you probably poll the pediatric hospitals or the admissions of pediatric patients to hospitals this past year, they'll probably tell you it was a record. It was a record. Not because kids got sicker per se, but it's just like anything else. You keep them. Everybody needs to develop their immune system, right? It just depends when you want them to get sick. If you put them at 2 years old in daycare, they'll get their colds then. If you put them later when they start school, they get their colds. There's the development of your immune
Natural
system
immunity.
is just as
Yeah.
important as the development of your skills cognitively and motor skill wise. It's going to develop one way or
Very well
another.
said.
Yeah.
Developing your immune system
Yeah.
by exposing yourself to the viruses.
I mean, it's just the way that it's
Right.
it's the way that we did things. Is it the best way? Look, I'm not here to rewrite history or, as a biologist look back, because look, back then, we didn't live long. We didn't, there was a lot of health. We've gotten healthier, right? Quote unquote. We live
Absolutely.
longer with better quality.
Correct.
So obviously the spectrum of moving towards doing these things, I'm for.
Right.
But my goodness, it was just such an acute change. And this was a health thing that had changed societal things. Like now things are just completely different. People don't go to, you don't necessarily go to work now. Maybe you stay at home. Maybe you don't go to,
We're getting
yeah.
back.
Yeah, we're getting
Because
back
I
to,
think that way
it was
of living,
recalibrated.
It's the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you could be efficient and work from home, oh my God, of course.
Right.
You know, I'm all for that.
Yes.
But isn't it great to be in school and to socialize with everybody and go play in this? That's our way of living and being.
100%. My generation, our generation,
Yeah.
you went outside when you were a kid. Everything you did, you were taught, like, if you want something, you got to go up to that person. You got to ask for them. You say hello to them. You look them in the eye. You shake their hand. You know, you had to do things real. There was no simulation.
Absolutely.
There was no, I mean, it was impossible. You couldn't you just had to get up and go. Like, oh, you know, that person, I want that. You got to go up to that person and ask them at the store.
Right.
Well, you're only 3 years old. Well, tough. You
Guess
don't
what?
get it.
Go learn how to ask for a friggin' loaf of bread.
100%.
It's amazing going
Yeah.
into your life now. Now, you are a first-generation Cuban. Your parents are born in Cuba.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're the first in the lineage to be born in America.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your parents came here when?
So my mom was very young, probably like around 5 years old. My dad was older, I would say teenage years.
Okay.
You know, so they were pretty young when they came here. So assimilating to
They
them
came
was a
in
little
the
easier.
50s?
60s.
Okay, they did come in the 60s.
Yeah, they came in the 60s. And you know,
Straight to
when the
Miami.
majority, yeah.
Didn't live anywhere else.
No, came straight here. My mom
They
went to
built-
Miami High,
they
and my
built
dad
Miami.
went to Southwest High School.
There you go.
So
There
they,
you go.
they were had a, most of their time of their life as adults, especially, was here in the United States. So
Did your grandparents come over as well?
yeah.
And they lived a good part of their life here in America?
Well,
Yeah.
no, in the 60s, you know, when the Fidel and all of that, and the revolution in the late 60s, that's what brought them over here.
Correct.
Yeah.
And how
So,
old were they when your grandparents came over? They were 50s?
probably a little bit younger than that, in their
Okay.
in their 40s,
And
you
they
know.
were just raising their families.
Yeah, that's right. Hmm.
So they were raising your parents.
That's right.
Right. Okay.
That's
got it.
right. So
Amazing.
my parents, since they were on the younger side when they got over here, they assimilated here really well. And little did we know that generation would help spark this amazing thing that has happened into this city since the 60s. I mean, it's just, the city has blossomed into this international amazing city because it's mixed a lot of different people, but you know, since I'm Cuban,
You have to be
I
partial
gotta be,
You
well,
gotta be
not
partial.
partial. I mean, it's obviously international, but it was great to see
At
that
that time,
the
that's what
exile,
was
this
supposed to be,
exile
yeah.
community, that these people that sacrificed their basically their professionalism, their life or whatever, for my generation, and then to see them come here, not only do that, but then just completely kick serious butt and help put Miami in the last several. I know they're not the only ones that have done that,
course.
but it's just, you know, I'm biased that just to see that generation spawn this amazing
Cultural
city.
revolution.
Yeah. You know,
'Cause prior to the Cubans coming in the 50s, 60s, 70s, all of it,
yeah.
who was here? What comprised Miami?
You know,
Cowboys. It was what, like white trash.
yeah,
You know,
I don't really know. I don't really know. Nothing, you know, I got nothing against them. But it's amazing how in these last, 40, 50 years, how this community has just been it's now an international city. It's on the cutting
Central
edge.
America,
It's
South America,
amazing.
Europe,
Yes,
Canada.
everything,
Yeah, absolutely. Everything.
everything.
Miami is everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And you know, and so that's
I
my
love
world.
that about Miami.
Yeah, and that's my world and my community. So I'm
Yeah.
extremely proud.
That it was the sport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
And you know, and because of their sacrifice, we got to become professionals. You know, they made sure that we went to school and we made something of ourselves. And because it was almost salient how dedicated and hardworking they were, it was like, dude, I got to do the same thing. Even if I'm a mess, like,
And
I got to do it.
Your parents met how? How'd your parents? I love asking that.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing question. I stun people with that. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know how my parents.
No, I think
How
I
do people
actually
not
do.
know where the hell they came from?
So in high school, back
Yeah.
then in the 60s, at least in Miami,
Parents are how many years apart?
they were like I want to say like 8 years apart.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
they
it was
go
a
to
big.
high school.
Well,
Sorry, they did not go to high school together.
no, they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't. But my dad was older, and then my mom was in like there were sororities for high school back then, like kind of like sororities in Miami, and he was in fraternity, obviously, and they got like a social, and that's how they met, and so my dad was much older than my mom. And I think she was 16 or 17. I don't think it would have flown
Wow.
now in these days, and he was in his 20s.
Right.
And that's it. And that's how they met.
And that was the end of that story.
And that was the end of
Now,
that story.
In the lineage, there's 3 of you.
No, it's just me and my brother.
Okay.
So it's me and
You're
my
the
younger
baby?
brother. No, I'm the older brother.
So how old are you now? I forget.
I'm 5'0".
The big 5-0, baby. Doesn't that feel good? Your 50th birthday was when?
April 6th.
Happy birthday, bro.
Thank you, man.
You're gonna be 51 this year.
Yep.
Wow, God bless you.
Yeah, man.
And your baby brother is how old?
Well, he's going to be 46. So he's 46 now. So he's going to be 47.
You guys are 4 years apart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
4
like
years.
my
4
brother
years.
and I.
Yeah.
But I'm the baby.
Right.
And is your brother a little crazy like me? Is he a little ADD? Or is he very calm and collected? I feel like the older brother is the stoic one. He keeps everybody in line. You were the crazy one?
Maybe
Yeah.
it depends. It depends. But I think for some things, he's like you said, and for other things, I'm that way.
What
It
were
depends
some
on the
of
situation.
And you grew up with your grandparents here as well,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah. The family,
I
man.
mean,
Cuban
and
family. That's
I grew
super
up
important.
in the same house as my grandparents.
Oh, wow.
Did you grow up in the same house as them, or at least very close?
Very close. Like,
Yeah.
on the weekends, I'd go to
To your
their house
grandparents.
because, I have to
I'd
stay there.
Is it Hialeah?
Well, they were in Hialeah for a very long time, and then but mostly Westchester. So I'm a Westchester boy.
Okay, which is 15, 20 minutes from Hialeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in Southwest, near where I went to high school, and so that's my world was Westchester. So they lived in Westchester for the most part, and then I would be dropped off there with my parents, and we'd sleep over there. And whether my parents would go out or not, they wanted to have us over when we were growing up, and then I got to learn my uncle.
Reflecting back on your heritage,
Yeah.
what was some of the most vivid Cuban memories that you had of your culture that your grandparents really put to the forefront?
Well, on that one, the biggest thing was sitting with them and them telling you stories. Them telling you stories about Cuba,
Right.
Whether it be the baseball or when they would go out or
You're
how
amazing, 'cause I was going to ask you about
yeah,
food, sports.
how beautiful the beach was,
Right.
how beautiful the architecture was, the cars. They'd go out. People were stylish. The music, the salsa, all of that stuff. That I saw Benny Murray live and all of that. Yeah, they would tell me all that stuff. So they would, so you would hear. I mean, as a kid, it goes in one ear, out the other. But what
Until it comes time to reflect on it.
yeah, when you reflect on it now, yes. But
Yes.
when growing up, what you notice is the sense of family and the sense of taking care of each other. So, those are friends, but those friends, that's like your other cousin.
Absolutely.
And that's,
Italians do the same thing.
yes, that's
You
what
meet
it
someone
was.
that you grew up next
So
to, you're like, those
yeah.
are our cousins.
And then I don't know if that's also because they were an exile community and, they wanted to stay tight. And so, there's a saying, like the 3 C's, conocida is known, cubana is another one, right? So, if you're Cuban and we knew you,
Yeah.
you were in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that the community was tight and stayed
Yes.
together, and to the
Yes.
point that my father got involved, in the community through the Kiwanis Club of Little Havana.
So that's what I'm saying, culturally.
Yeah,
they
and
had
that
Cuban
really
clubs.
was a
Yeah.
huge part of my growing up, and that was all his best friends were there, and all of their kids, and so I grew up in that community, so it was very rich. And if one of them said, "Hey, man, I put my kid in baseball," "Oh, where?" "I put him in Tamiami," and then all of us went,
We're going to
and then and I'm putting him in football, and we go there, And then, oh, we're going to go to this and you're going to like it and this school and that school. And that's how we did everything. What are you doing? It was whatever the friends were doing. It's not like now, like where, oh, I'm going to research where the best place to put my child, what's the best thing that I should do. And, because we know so much now. We have so much access to information. Back then, no information. It was like, no, they're doing it there.
Go there.
You go there.
It's amazing how the world has changed in that regard.
It's crazy.
Sometimes it's to an advantage. Sometimes it's to a disadvantage.
Right. Right.
Sometimes to a disadvantage.
Well, you know what? Like I say a lot of things is like just dumb luck. Like,
dumb luck.
Yeah, I went here and I met this person and then that person became my best friend and then I went over here and because of that person I ended up in this school and then I met this other person that's a huge part of my life and there I go to that school and if I don't go to that school I don't meet my wife and it's crazy. But that's the level of now we commiserate about everything. Even me, I try to get as much information as possible because it's so easily to get. But back then you didn't even know sports. Like I'm a big sports fan. You didn't even know if the person is telling you whatever is true. Correct. There was no way to check them. Correct. So I would memorize something of sports. Yeah.
Everything. Now.
Yeah, like I would memorize like, oh, these people won the Super Bowl in 72. And then I'd be wrong because the person that told me was wrong.
100%.
Or you get in a big fight.
Right.
And no one would know who's right.
Let me ask you this. As a Cuban American, and I would say the two greatest sports in Cuba, boxing, baseball.
Yeah, baseball, man.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, beyond that.
Play baseball.
So did you feel that influence in the house?
Yes.
Coming from a Cuban family?
Huge.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing that fervor, that cultural love for baseball has not translated here to Miami. It's mind-boggling to me.
I think that a lot of the Cuban community really did love it. Like back then, like in cable, you could only get the Braves. So a lot of that community became huge Braves fans.
All of my Cuban friends are Braves fans.
That's why.
TBS.
Because TBS, you couldn't see any other game. So then you'd watch all the games and be like, it'd be awesome.
Yes.
And obviously they put a glove in my hand. I played baseball since I was young. And then I was a little bit against the grain because I liked football. I liked tackle football. Yes. And and they were like, ooh.
Did you grow up playing baseball?
Yeah.
You did?
Oh yeah.
And then you forayed into football.
I played in the season of when football season, I played football.
You did.
And in baseball season, I played baseball.
All right, so you were a two-sport star.
Well, I don't want to say I'm a star, but I played two sports, man. Since I was little, like I love sports.
So
sports was my sport. We lived at the park.
Everything. So many lessons in life are taught through sports.
100%.
100%.
Me growing up was all. Yeah. You say it. Me growing up, everything was
community, hard work, dedication, skill, hand-eye coordination. Learning how to win, learning how to lose.
Yep.
Having the desire to win and having that drive you. That's why today I get a little crazy when it's like everyone gets a trophy.
Yep.
No. You get a pat on the back for participating and a hug always, but the winner's the winner.
100%.
100%.
I mean.
Did you win championships growing up?
Yes.
Yeah.
But not often.
Me too.
Not often. You had to earn them.
Earn it.
My dad was awesome because my dad was like, he was not impressed. No matter what I did or whatever, he'd be like, well, did you hit a home run? Did you score a touchdown? Did you win the game? Even if you scored a touchdown, did you win the game? Well, you didn't do anything then.
It's so funny. Like, my dad was good with me because he was always my coach, but
He wasn't. My dad wasn't my coach.
Yeah, my dad was my coach. So even when we lost, it was always, hey, that's part of life.
Yeah.
But my grandfather, to him, was the same way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's an immigrant thing where you come over and you're like, you lost the game, you're a loser. Hell is wrong with you?
Well, he wouldn't do that. He'd be like, he would just be like unimpressed. Mm-hmm. However, I'm gonna have to give. My dad was extremely supportive. Right. He never got like if I stunk, he'd say, well, it wasn't so good, but he wouldn't be like, you got to do good. And then if I did really good, he wouldn't get too much like woohoo, but he'd be like, And honestly, that taught me like you gotta bust your hump
To win.
because
And to get better.
it that's when it truly feels, at least to me, like in my life, it was if you really bust your hump, you try your best, and you prevail because it's so difficult to do all of those things. My God, that feeling is incredible.
To win.
Yeah,
Yes.
only then is it incredible.
Correct.
Only then,
100%.
after you've gone through all that heartache.
Right.
But if you go through all that thing here and you get beat, it's terrible.
I know.
It hurts.
What'd you love more, baseball or football?
Oh, yeah. I was naturally better at baseball, but I loved football 100%. It was like the physicality of it, like, and the teamwork of it were
Yes.
so tangible.
Yes.
So tangible. You could feel it, like, like, oh my God, these people are out. When you're little, you're like, you're going to play these other guys, and they're like, whoa, and you're like, whoa. And then the only people I have are these people. Those adults are not even on the field. I don't even have them.
I didn't play football growing up. I
Yeah.
was baseball, soccer.
Yeah.
Italian family.
Right.
So I did play football, but soccer.
Right.
But you obviously 30, crushing it. Obviously, you had the build to play football.
Not when I was little. I was
No?
skinny.
Really?
Yeah, and everybody, I remember my coach and I loved football. And my mom knew that I loved football. And my dad loved watching the Dolphins. So we were like a football family.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Since I was little. He loved the Dolphins.
I would say out of all the sports in this city, whether it's Marlins, Heat, or Dolphins, what's the most passion?
No, it's
And
Dolphins.
Panthers.
It's Dolphins.
It's Dolphins.
It's Dolphins.
I
Maybe
think so.
recently,
Still.
the recent generation, you can make an argument for the Heat when they won the championship.
Yeah, I agree.
But my dad's generation, he's the influence on me in 72 and 73 when they go to the Super Bowls, win back to back, they go undefeated. Forget it.
So what
They
is
fell
the
in love
issue?
with it.
The Marlins won it in '97, and
Yep.
they beat my beloved Yankees,
Yeah.
and I was at
Yeah. And the
Game
Marlins,
6
too, had their day in the sun.
03 when they beat us with Josh Beckett.
Yeah.
Why is baseball not all-encompassing down here? Why is this stadium empty? What is the issue?
You ask
Is it too hot? It's too hot to sit there for 3 hours.
I don't know.
Interject?
Yes.
We're gonna have the World Baseball Classic. You can't get tickets.
Listen.
You can't. The tickets
Yeah,
are $300
yeah.
for the top
The
bracket.
best sporting event, we've discussed
Yeah.
this, that I ever went to was United States versus Dominican Republic.
Right.
It was a 4-hour party in that stadium. Why can't that translate to the Marlins? It's unbelievable. And they have one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yep.
I mean, he is. Sandy Alcantara. He is won the Cy Young. I would die for him to be on the Yankees.
Well, when the Marlins did go to the World Series, there was buzz. But you're right. Why isn't there, when short of having gone to the World Series or going to the basketball championships, but specifically with baseball, why aren't people going? And the only thing that I can think of is it's just a community that didn't get used to
Baseball.
traveling to the baseball stadium to go see the
Correct.
game
Correct.
at a time where it may have been easier to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
It's not from lack of having sports fans here. I think there's a lot of people here that are interested in sports and
It's just
specifically
hard to
Stava
translate
Lava
to get
Basin.
him to the stadium.
To get people to get anywhere in Miami to go to an event, I think is a lift,
Well, I think also,
in my opinion.
I have to say, we don't have the obstacle of one of the most beautiful beaches in the United States, if not the most beautiful beach in the United States of America.
Yeah.
When it's, 2 o'clock on a Sunday, hard to go to a baseball game in 100-degree weather in July.
Yep.
I mean, we have the most, we have to be fair.
And during
That is the
during the week, I mean,
Right.
it just. But these are things that are true in Boston and,
Right.
and New York, but they have a tradition
Yes.
of doing that, and it just for whatever reason hasn't clicked in coming here. I don't know if it's the commute, people living in all kinds of different places to try to get in. I could never figure out why that didn't hook more than it should have. You definitely have the Latin population. They definitely love their baseball. And not just Cubans. We're talking about South Americans, Venezuelans,
Everybody.
Puerto
Well,
Ricans,
Absolutely.
I mean,
That's what I'm
they
saying.
love they know their baseball.
South America, Central America.
So many good baseball
Puerto
players down
Rico.
here.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Here in Miami that grew up playing,
Like, even Bucky Dent. People don't realize Bucky
Yeah.
Dent is from Hialeah.
Yeah.
Nestor Cortez, my main man on the Yankees right now, went to Hialeah High.
Yeah.
So
So there's a lot of good baseball.
My very
Mikey
close
Lowe,
friend,
Mikey Lowe's from here.
Nick Castellanos,
Yeah.
my close friend, who almost became a World Series champion, and I think he's got an excellent shot that Phillies do to do it again. So it is. I agree with you. So now you forayed from high school. You went to college here.
I went to the University of Florida.
Okay, so you stayed in Florida. So
Yeah.
you're a Gator.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
all
you're
the
a
way,
Gator.
big time.
So that was when? That was 91 to 95?
It was 89 to 93.
So you and Werfel, who was the quarterback?
Yeah, Warfel.
So you
You're
saw
right.
a national championship.
Well, yeah, but you know,
had graduated.
yeah, Tebow would go after me. Tebow
Tebow
came
went
after.
you.
Yeah,
Oh, so
Tebow came after I
Florida
left.
didn't win the national championship with Danny Werfel.
No,
No.
no. Well,
Did they? But you just weren't there.
They lost.
they lost to
First
Alabama.
SEC
That was what the heartache was
Got
for me.
Were you interested in being a doctor in college?
I wanted to be a doctor ever since I saw Trapper John M.D. I wanted to be Gonzo.
Stop it.
I had no.
That's how you got your interest in medicine?
You know, like
Can I
right?
make you laugh?
People, yeah,
You know what was mine?
yeah.
I swear to you, I wanted to be a doctor when I started playing the game of Operation. I'm not even joking.
You're kidding me.
I started.
I played that all the time too.
Like I just was so mesmerized
Right?
by this game.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I guess I grew up in a house with, you know, my grandparents. My dad had diabetes, and it just, I don't know. It's like the spore.
So the electrocution.
Yes.
Most
man,
people,
I was
it would
like,
drive most
yeah,
people
let's go.
away,
No, I
and
loved
it gravitated you
Tell
there. It
you
was like a
right now,
magnet.
The game of Operation changed my life.
Probably one of the most dangerous games for children ever created.
know, 'cause you
love
want-
it. Yeah. And look what it created,
I
a
see.
doctor. I
And
love it.
That's what I'm saying. How? Yeah.
You got electrocuted.
I got electrocuted.
Woo!
I know. Think about it.
Oh,
And
it's a
the
great game. Get it for the
the
kids.
nose came up red. It
Yeah.
was like, you
Get it for the
suck
kids.
at this.
Get it for the kids.
Oh my God, so funny.
Not
So-
only do you get electrocuted, but you hurt the patient. You
Yeah,
know.
I wonder how. I gotta ask my medical students how they garnered an interest in medicine.
Yeah, mine was Trapper John
You know?
M.D.
I mean,
I wanted to be Gonzo. He lived in the Titanic. He lived in.
Trapper John M.D. was a TV show.
Yes.
In the 70s.
Yes.
Yes. And
I was
Gonzo
little.
Was the
I
other
think
doctor
his
on the
name
show.
was Harrison Lesson,
Yeah.
and he was the young doctor, right?
Yes.
Trapper John M.D. was a spinoff, I believe, of MASH,
MASH,
if I'm not
absolutely.
mistaken.
That's when the original. Was
Yeah, and then so the doctor, one of the doctors in MASH, became the chief of staff at this hospital, and then he hires this young surgeon, Gonzo, who drove an RV.
Yes.
He lived in the parking lot to a 6-year-old. Oh my God. That wanted to stay in bed, that didn't want to go to school. Like, can you just go in my pajamas
so
to school?
It wasn't even your parents harassing you. It was you saw this TV show.
Dude, I can park.
Right.
Look at this job. I drive my house
Right.
to my job. I can get out. I thought he wore underwear. The scrubs were underwear. I go, dude, I get to go to work in underwear?
Those
This is
were
the
our
best thing.
underoos. That was the underoos.
Exactly, the
scrubs,
underoos. So I was like,
underoos.
I'm going to do that.
And then you went to medical school where?
I went to Southeastern. Back then it's Nova Southeastern.
Oh, so you went to Nova.
I went to Nova Southeastern.
And then the fascination with pediatrics and the drive to do that.
So,
how did that happen?
when I was in college, I was, and in high school, I got exposed to, like, I don't know, doing volunteer work with kids and stuff. And in college, I was a lifeguard over the summers, and then to the pool that I was going to be a lifeguard, they would bring in, like, the summer camps. So, like, they bring in what seemed to me hundreds of children.
Right.
And that's when the counselors, which were probably even younger than me, stopped looking at the kids as much because it wasn't their responsibility. They weren't a lifeguard. Now I'm in charge of looking at what seemed to me hundreds of children in the pool, and I go, oh my God, I'm in charge of all these people. I couldn't even sit up on the go. I had to walk around.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was a little bit, of a tyrant, but at the beginning, because I was so petrified that somebody would drown, I was like, and then I was like, wait a minute, if I use my sense of humor and with the kids, and I found that it was easy and it was fun for me to be with the kids. It was natural. Like it was, being with the kids was a little bit easier than if these were a bunch of adults.
Right.
And since I was little, I want to be a doctor, and I was like, man, I think I want to work with kids.
You crushed it, bro. Not only did you become a pediatrician, but you specialized in pediatric intensive care. I do adult intensive care, and it's is what it is. I couldn't imagine the delicacy, how delicate it is. You're taking care of newborn babies
Yeah.
and NICU, neonatal ICU. I mean, this is,
Yeah.
for me, as delicate as it gets. So
Yeah.
what was that like for you, training and learning on newborn babies?
So at first, I wanted just to be like my doctor, Dr. Schwartzman. You know, the guy that you come, he gives you a shot. You know, he
Yeah.
tells a joke. He says, "Hey, look how much you
grew.
You grew. How much weight you gained?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
What are you doing?" And I thought that's what I was gonna do. And so I was in my residency, and then lo and behold, I do a rotation in ICU, and I had done rotations in ICU before, in my general rotations with adults, and I liked it a lot. And then when I did it in my residency, I was like, forget it. You know, when the heavens open, it's like, I
Not
got to
for
do
me.
this.
Yeah, it's for me.
It's
I get
for
it.
me.
Obviously, yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, but when you know it's for you, it's like when the bad, like, oh, this is rough. Oh my God, I really got to know my stuff. Oh my God, they're yelling at this person because he doesn't know. They're yelling at the fellow because he doesn't know. And I'm like, and I'm saying to myself, oh, yeah, this is for me. I want to torture myself with this,
Absolutely.
you know.
And our concepts, they run parallel to each other.
Yes.
Adults and kids.
Absolutely,
I mean, whether
100%.
it's physiology,
The physiology
it's
is
all, I mean, they
is
run
what rules the
parallel.
day. Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, of course it does. Now you
We have a
finished
bond. We have a bond over
beyond
that.
You
Yeah.
have a beyond bond.
But I mean, there's and everything else are bond, but there we have a
now
real bond.
you're still spending time in the neonatal ICU.
Pediatric ICU.
Okay, so peds ICU.
Yeah, not neonatologist. I'm a pediatric intensivist.
So that would be, is it a year up?
So anything that's not a preemie, that's
And
the
we
rule
would
of thumb.
Consider a preemie from what to what?
Anybody born before 37 weeks technically is premature, but usually the preemies, you know, now
They go to neonatal.
they go to NICU.
So if you're
Exactly.
born 37 weeks and above, it comes to you. I mean, you're intubating and placing newborn children or whatever on life support.
Yes.
It's
Hopefully not often,
God
but yes.
bless you. I know, but God bless you for doing that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that was something that I would have been able to do. I didn't even get to that point. It just, you know, you make your decisions. I'm
Yes,
doing
yeah,
internal medicine,
yeah.
you did peds.
Yeah.
It is, what a tremendous ability to control your emotions. I mean, look, I have people that are 80 and 90 years old. God bless them. And I, of course, want them to do well and live, and I want to cure them.
Yeah.
But they've lived an entire full life.
Yes.
A lot of the patients that I have,
Yeah.
you have the delicacy of these newborn babies,
Right.
as long as they're not preemie, to handle them at such a delicate stage of life.
Yeah.
Beginning.
Yeah.
So, what is that like? I mean,
Well-
how do you handle that emotionally?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that you kind of get, if I'm gonna be honest, you get fired up, right? Like you go someplace and it just strikes your nerve, like, oh my God, this is not only what I have a passion and I want to do, I have to learn how to do this cold, and that's where I have to really give all the credit in the world
To the people who
to the people who trained me. They trained me
Same here.
so that when I was, you know, no matter how tired I was, no matter how many times I thought off, that they would get me back where it was just reflexive, so that when I, you know, finished there, or even, you know, even after the first year there of doing ICU, I was like a machine, you know, like my mind was sharp, my body was sharp, like they trained you. I don't know how else to say it than analogous to like training a military person. Like when they first get to boot camp, they're falling all over themselves, you know. Yeah.
Medical training.
Yeah.
There, and this is in the culinary world as well.
Yeah.
Military training.
Yeah.
It's an underlying theme.
For me, it was. For me, it
had-
was very
for me
much
as
that.
Well,
Yeah.
so regimented, and we're
Yeah.
putting 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah, easy.
Into this.
Easy.
For years.
Yeah.
For a decade.
Yep.
Just to train.
Yes, right.
Whether it's books and then the practicality of it.
Yeah.
So it
Just to get myself to train to
Right.
be a critical care pediatrician, I had to go through so much years
Yes.
just to even get in there.
Well, it was 3 years at peds.
Yeah.
And then was it 2 years critical care?
3 years critical care. For me, technically 4, because I did a year of I had a grant to do basic science research during my
So you even did the year of research.
created. Yeah, I did
So
it.
you have
Yeah.
a PhD as well?
Not a PhD, but it was
A research
it was a
grant.
research year. It was a
Yeah, I
research
got it.
grant. That's
I
right.
got it.
That's right. The idea was to create like a physician scientist, but
Correct.
not full PhD.
You know,
Those
it's-
guys are other animals. I tip
Now-
my hat off to them.
We met.
Yeah,
Obviously, you became the Dean of Medical Education at the hospital I'm working at.
That's right.
Palmetto General.
yeah,
And we instantly connected. And
absolutely.
then we, through sports, family,
Everything.
food, all of it.
Yeah.
And then we found out we had a mutual friend,
That's
Bill
right.
Lopez.
That's
and
right.
Then we went completely berserk.
Yes, we did.
And then you so amazingly got all of these teaching programs accredited, and we don't have to get into all of this with the
Yeah,
audience,
yeah.
but you really stepped up for the hospital and did such an amazing job.
Thank you.
And then you said, "Hey, I'm going to go on. I'm going to do other things.
Right.
Other things I want to accomplish."
Yeah.
And you left, and of course, we always kept in touch and spoke all the time.
Yep.
But coming from the background that you did, and knowing the fragility of life, it's an incredible story, a very immediate, tragic, and then amazing story. You had a terrible accident.
Yeah.
I got a phone call. I thought you passed away.
Yeah.
Explain what happened. This is
Yeah.
still mind-boggling to me. It's really the first time in person
Yeah.
that I'm getting to know this story.
Right.
So whatever you could say,
Sure.
what happened?
the short version of that is I have no clue how it happened,
Right.
but I can tell you what happened.
Right.
I got into I was going to work, I was going to be on call, and on I-95 I got into just a horrible car accident.
Right.
I was driving my car and I hit there was an accident that happened just minutes before, blocking the lane that I was in. I was in one of those express lanes, and I struck the road ranger, which is, if you're not familiar with a road ranger, those are the tow trucks. Those are the ones that have the bumpers, and and luckily, the only one that got seriously hurt there was me. I don't remember any of this. I'm telling you,
Looking back
but
on it now,
yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, thank
100%.
God no one else got hurt. And
No,
you're okay.
that was my first,
So you had
second,
this
and third
horrible
concern.
accident.
Yeah.
You flipped your car, or
The car was just, it was crushed. It was literally like crushed. It was like not recognizable. The guys pulled me out with the jaws of life, literally. They put me on a stretcher and took me to Jackson, my old stomping grounds, where I worked. I was a professor and everything. They recognized my face. I was a John Doe, apparently. And that's how they let my wife know that
your
I was
heart
hurt.
must have dropped. Now,
Yeah.
how bad were the injuries?
So it was pretty bad. All four extremities were broken,
And
ribs broken.
we can see. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
Scars here.
Yeah.
There's plates here, correct?
Yep.
And
Yep.
in your wrist.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. On your legs as well. Did you
Yeah.
break your legs?
Yep. Yep. Both.
So you broke both arms and both legs.
All
both
four
legs.
extremities.
Did you break your pelvis?
No, just the
Thank God.
extremities. No, just the extremities.
Thank God.
Just the extremities. I mean, it's
gotta
incredible.
be such a twist of fate, where here it is, your whole life is geared towards loving people, nurturing them, and taking care of them.
100%,
And
man.
everyone is so dependent on you.
Yeah.
And now you're in this bed, powerless, where you're dependent on the doctor. What a switch! What a different hat to put on.
You couldn't have said it any better. You are usually the one with a cape on and the hero. You're going to come in. You got to know the situation and try to, make a horrible situation in some way less horrible or tolerable. And, every once in a while, maybe you make it, the stars align and whatever you do makes things better. I was in the other side, and I'm looking at myself, talking to myself like, oh my goodness, I'm completely helpless. Completely. I'm at the mercy of whatever fate is going to decide me,
Agreed. And there's different stages to that, because
Yeah.
when you had the accident and you're in the car, you said you were cognizant, you knew what was going on,
Yeah.
you were bleeding.
Well, I
You
was
could've-
awake. I was awake
Yeah.
and stuff, but I don't remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you call, someone called 911?
I told them to call my wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm saying, so you could have died.
Yeah.
I mean, you were very
Yeah.
close to dying.
Yeah. Yes.
30 minutes, an hour, you were bleeding out.
Maybe.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Very close. Yeah.
you know, whatever is going to be in this life is going to be. We're really not in control of it.
Yeah.
You know,
That was the rough part because we're
Thank
used to
God
being in
the
that
team,
environment.
by the way, that came to rescue you.
No, thank God for all of them. All of them, how they treated me as a human, as the decisions that they made, having the courage to take me to surgery and fix me all in one shot,
Yeah.
and
They fixed your arms and your legs.
one shot.
How long were you in the operating room for?
Well, they tell me about 4 hours.
That orthopedic team fixed your arms and legs in
Yeah,
4 hours.
something like that. Something like that.
I
Maybe
don't think people
I don't know if that's all accurate.
Let's
You know.
say it's 6 hours. Let's embellish. Because
Yeah.
it could have been.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand the skill level it is to literally put your body back together with plates and screws.
Yeah.
All these bones in your arms and legs
Yeah.
in under 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's the training to do that at the drop of a dime. God bless the medical community.
They're angels. They're heroes.
Really?
They're unsung.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of being able to meet them and thank only a few of them. I wish I could have thanked more.
Yeah.
Just incredible people,
Yeah.
and treated me like gold.
Yeah.
And just gave me a chance, man.
They gave you a chance.
They gave me a chance,
and not
man.
only that, you're back to normal.
Yeah.
I mean, no one ever goes back to 100%.
Yeah.
But you're as pretty damn close as you're going to be.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No head injury.
No.
No limp.
No.
No inability to use a finger.
No.
God bless them.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Well,
I'm so
I'm just lucky, man.
So I know. I mean, we have to think that.
Kudos to them for doing
Yeah.
it all in one shot, for having the courage to do it all in one shot. I mean,
How long was the rehab?
I was 3.5 weeks in the hospital. I was about 3 months after that, pretty much laid up, and then the rehab started. And bless the rehab people, man, because
So the rehab didn't start. You're 4 months in, and then the
Yeah,
rehab starts.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the 3 months that you're home, what are you doing?
they're coming to my house to do some rehab, but I can't put any weight on my
bones
legs.
had to-
Yeah, the bones had to heal.
You must have lost so much weight.
I was 215 and I left the hospital at 165 or something like that. 162.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You lost 50 pounds.
Uh,
Did you
yeah.
even recognize yourself? That must
I
be-
was gaunt.
You were gaunt. You ain't gaunt anymore.
No, I was gaunt, man.
Yeah,
I was pretty
yeah.
gaunt.
No,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I saw you walk in tonight, I was grateful to God.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, and you look amazing. You've never
Appreciate
looked better
it.
in your life.
Oh, thanks.
I really mean that. You
Yeah,
know,
thanks.
you rosy red cheeks.
Yeah.
You're still robust. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you weigh now? 195 pounds.
Yeah,
I
195.
mean, dude, that's a beast. You know what I mean? Like, I've gotten up to about 165, but maybe not for the best reasons. But, I'm Italian. We like to eat a little bit and drink our wine and celebrate. I don't know. What else do you want to say? Is there anything you wanted to ask me? We haven't seen each other in a while.
Well, that I'll say about that and
Yeah.
all of that, the most important things, man, was my wife, my
Yes,
family,
of course.
because your kids, that's all you
Yes.
think about.
Yeah.
Your friends and everybody that touched your life. They give you a kind of power and strength that I don't know how to explain it. They just kind of lifts you. Not that you are giving up or anything, but it just it fills you and lifts you to just endure anything, man. I'm talking about anything. It makes whatever you're doing minuscule.
How has it changed? 1 hour? We're done. How has it changed your mentality and mindset moving forward after this incident that you had?
You're gonna okay, so number one.
Because, by the way, we talk about pre-COVID and post-COVID. We
Yeah.
had pre-accident.
Yeah,
and
yeah, right.
then we have post-accident.
So
Doctor.
one of the things that I always like to say is like, I'm really just happy to be here. And if there's any big change was like, I more assumed that I had to be, because what we do for a living, I have to be the one that's healthy, secure. I have to have the answers. I need to come in and help the bad situation. And when I had the role reverse, I was helpless. And so that gives you a huge humility that you are both. That you are both. I was aware of that because in pediatrics, you know, when you're dealing with a family, when you're dealing with a mother, you have to be very in tune with that, and you get humbled. But this gave me a whole. It was a perspective that I could not get without going through that.
Well, you basically died and came back.
That's right.
And they
That's
put your
right.
body back together.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And
know,
I'm so
and
grateful to
spirit.
everything, to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it was all. I really think that it was all of those people and all the people that are close to me in my life. That's what I just followed through.
Yeah.
That's all. I didn't
You didn't give
close
up.
my eyes.
Right.
That's it. That's
That's it.
all. All I just like, man, I'm gonna stay at the party. All I did was stay at the party.
That's it.
That's all.
And everybody
Honestly, my
floats you
part
through.
was super easy. I'm being honest with that. My part was super easy.
Because they really, people,
Your family, your friends, your coworkers, everybody that you touched in your life,
Yeah.
forget it, man.
they
Like,
just came to take care of you.
yeah,
And-
this was
and
they gave me a
propel
gift.
You, they're like, yes, they gave you a gift.
It was a gift, so all I had to do was receive it.
Isn't it amazing to say and end with, I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely.
I'm so happy
That is my mantra, man.
to be here. I'm so happy that you're here.
You don't know
Thanks
how
for
happy
doing
I
this
am to be
tonight.
here. You're very welcome,
Let's
bro.
go eat a good meal.
Let's do it, baby.
I'm gonna go cook a few steaks for him. Are you kidding me? Look at him. From 165 back to almost 200 pounds. Let's go put 5 more on.
Let's do it.
Take a sip podcast, baby.
All right.
God bless you. I love you, Doc.
Love you, brother.
You're my closest friend.
Thank you, man.
I love you so much.
Love you, bro.
Thank you.
There you go.
You're amazing.
That was good.
That was amazing.
Okay.